So I'm not very comfortable making videos like this. It's like my first time. So there's like a lot of things that I tend to think of like off of camera, and like when I'm by myself and stuff, I'll have like a lot of things on my mind. I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea. I'm like really good with coming up with like very, particular explanations for things that I'm thinking and that I'm going through. But then when it comes to turning the camera on and turning the mic and getting everything connected and all that and making a video, it's like, oh, and I like don't say half the stuff that I was thinking in private or while I was cleaning my room or something like that. So there's like a lot of things I'm like, oh my God, yes, this is really cool. And then I, have a thing recording me. It's like, anyway, so this video, I wanted to talk specifically about this sentiment when you're dating. So when I'm talking about dating, I'm talking about the context of like getting to know someone for the purpose of potentially entering a long-term romantic relationship. And this is particularly for the gay dating world. I'm not talking specifically for the straight dating world, even though this may apply to those people who are straight as well. But I'm more familiar with gay dating because that's what I'm very familiar with that. I'm very experienced at. So this is going to be part of what this video is about, is gay dating. So what I've noticed over the years of dating guys, chatting them up online, meeting them, dating them, I have noticed this sentiment of simply dating, desiring a long-term relationship with someone else, wanting a relationship is considered being desperate. Like there's something wrong. And that was a problem with me. That was a problem for me because it caused me to think that there was something wrong with me. Whenever I was told I was desperate just for wanting a relationship, it was also behind me being told that was the idea that there was something wrong with me. I was told you need to find a hobby. You need to find something to do. You're too young. You need to enjoy yourself. You're still young. Find hobby. You can find other interests. And I never understood this because for me, relationship was my number one priority. That's what I wanted. But everyone else kept telling me that I was desperate for wanting a relationship. And what I've learned, that's not true. There's nothing wrong with wanting a relationship. The people that I was dating were just not sharing that same interest as I had. I wanted a relationship, but the people I was dating who were telling me that I was desperate were not sharing the same amount of interest in a relationship as I was. And so what I should have done is just separated myself from those people and moved on to find someone else who didn't think I was desperate. And that's the problem that I had, and it made me so frustrated. Kept coming across guys calling me desperate, saying there was something wrong with me, gaslighting me, thinking there was something wrong with me. And there were times I took that seriously. I would begin to question myself. There's something wrong with me? Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I need to find help for this. No, that was not the issue. And I'm not the only one. There's other guys that I came across. I at first thought maybe it was just me, maybe I'm the one experiencing. There's a lot of other guys who experience the same thing, that want, like to say, they just want a relationship, but yet they're told they're desperate. And the problem is a lot of people who are told that will take that seriously and then halt their progress. They'll halt their own happiness trying to go about finding a solution to this potential problem of being desperate. They're desperate for wanting a relationship. And that's not productive. It's destructive, and it holds that person's happiness based on that idea that they took seriously, that they were desperate. And this is a very problematic issue that I think needs to be talked about more often, at least in the gay community. I'm pretty sure it's pretty common in the straight community, but I could be wrong. But this is based on my experience and what I've learned. And I think a lot of this has to do with this part of the US, and what I've noticed, because I've been in different parts of the US, and different parts of the US have different groups of people. I live in the northeastern part of the US where people in this area, there's a higher concentration of people who are at a higher income level. So office workers, there's financial advisors, software engineers, doctors, CEOs, especially in New York City where I have dated a lot, and I have noticed a different pattern of behavior and mindset from this part of the US and the southern part of the US. So I've noticed that there seems to be a different culture where the people in the southern parts of the US tend to be more family oriented, more caring about each other, making sure everyone, them and their family is okay, and other people are looking out for each other and accepting each other for who they are. In particular, in certain circles, there are exceptions, of course. And then in parts of the US like here, like, the New Jersey, New York, eastern part of the US, especially urban areas, I've noticed that there's a different culture. There's this culture of chasing after wealth and chasing after social status and putting human relationships aside to chase that. And that, I believe, may be part of this idea of being desperate. If you're looking for a relationship, because there's this idea that you shouldn't be you shouldn't be worried about that. You need to worry more about your finances. You need to worry more about doing other things in life. When everyone is different, everyone has different desires, everyone has different beliefs, everyone has different goals in their life. And the problem is with these people telling these other guys who are dating, who just simply want a relationship, that they're desperate. I believe some of it may be a projection of insecurity, because the person saying that feels insecure of having a relationship. They don't feel comfortable with that. They don't want to do with that because they're scared of relationships. So they feel like they need to project onto the other person, have the other person feel that way so they can feel more comfortable, in their environment at the end. They don't want the other person to think, because that scares them. So they feel like that person is desperate. They need to do something else in their life, and that's really destructive. And this video, the whole point of this video is, if you're dating and someone tells you you're desperate just for wanting a relationship, for that being your number one priority, there is nothing wrong with you. Okay? There is nothing wrong with you. What you do is you move on. You go, look, I really appreciate your time. It seems we don't share the same interests. Good luck. Thank you for your time. Something like that. And just move on. Don't take them seriously. It's not you. It's that person telling you that. It's not your problem. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. And I think too many people will take that seriously and think that there is something wrong with them and that they need to change, when really it's that other person giving bad advice to you. Telling you being desperate is bad advice, unless you're really desperate and let's say you're willing to accept anyone who's willing to say yes, even if they treat you badly and are disrespectful towards you. I would consider that desperate, and you need to try to find people who respect you and treat you like you deserve, and not just willing to settle for anyone. That's not, that's desperate if you're doing that. But if you're just simply trying to find a relationship with someone who's compatible with you, that even if that's your number one priority, there is nothing wrong with that. What you need to do is find other guys who feel the same way. If you're dating a guy who feels the same, they want the same as you, they would really like a relationship, they're not going to call you desperate. They're going to be glad you entered into their life. They're not going to call you that. They're going to be glad that you are present in their life and that you're wanting the same. So for those people who are telling you that you're desperate, don't take them seriously. And for those who say that, fuck you. Fuck you for saying you're desperate. I was told that so many times, and I kept questioning myself like something was wrong with me. And it took me years to finally realize there was nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with those people who are telling me that, gaslighting me, trying to convince me there's something wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with me. We just don't share the same interests. That's it. That's it. You should have just said, look, I see that you really want a relationship. It's not a priority for me right now. Good luck. That's it. That's all you should have said. Instead, calling me all desperate and stuff, having me question myself like something's wrong with me. Fuck you. I know this video went from like 0 to 100 real fast, but it just really frustrates me because it's really destructive, is unproductive. And you tell someone that, you don't know what's gonna happen to that person. They're gonna think something's wrong with them. There's people who commit suicide over this stuff, thinking there's something really wrong with them. It's toxic. It's not healthy at all. So like I said, if you're dating and you're called that, there's nothing wrong with you. Just move on and find someone else. You learn from that and you learn to avoid those people. Someone said, oh yeah, you come off as desperate, I think you need to change. Okay, all right, just move on and find someone else who doesn't think that way. And another thing that's really bothered me as well, I've noticed, especially in this part of the US, where there's this judgmental, you're judged. If I'm not a doctor, if I'm not a lab worker, or if I'm not, a CEO, if I'm not making $150K a year and don't live in a nice 3-bedroom apartment, don't drive a nice car, all that stuff, I don't have a master's degree in something, I'm considered less of a person. And so they don't want nothing to do with me. They only want people who have a lot of money. They only want people who got their quote unquote shit together and have a nice, office job or financial advising job or whatever the hell. Don't take them seriously. Look, everyone is different. Okay, not everyone is chasing that money. Some people are just happy where they are and they have other priorities in their life. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're a loser. And by the way, I hate that word loser because it assumes that person is trying to play the game of financial gain, and it assumes that person's trying to partake in a game of chasing wealth and social status, when that person may not be trying to do that at all, but yet they're a loser because they don't meet the standards that you have set for them. And now if you'd rather have someone else who's in that particular financial status like you are, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that. When you're judging other people who are not in that same level as you are, fuck you. They're the same human being as you are. They are a human being just like you are. There's nothing wrong with them having different priorities than you. That's another thing that I've noticed, that dating here, unless they don't want nothing to do, I'll be judged and looked down upon, I'm a less of a person because I'm not an office worker, I'm not a CEO or whatever. It's ridiculous. And it's this culture of this comparison culture, you have to be 100 plus K, earner for you to be worthy of their time, or you're just ugh. It's just really toxic, disrespectful mindset that causes people to feel shitty about themselves. And by the way, if you're dating other people like that, find someone else, because there are people out there who respect you and accept you for who you are. Even if you're a fucking, coffee shop cashier working part-time making $20K a year. As long as you're happy with your life and you're doing what you love doing, there is nothing wrong with that. Now, if you're taking taking advantage of other people and using them and abusing them and not trying to show appreciation, that's different. That's understandable. But don't associate people like that if you don't feel comfortable with people like that. You don't have to, don't think there's something wrong with you because you don't have a fucking master's degree making 150K a year or whatever. There's nothing wrong with you. Now, if you want to do that for yourself because you're not happy where you are, go for it. But if you're just doing it because other people are judging you because you don't have that, then I think that's a toxic mindset to have. My point is, there's nothing wrong with wanting a relationship. And if you really want it, go for it. Ignore people who tell you you're desperate. Ignore people who say you need to change, you need to find a hobby or whatever. Ignore those people. Just move the fuck on and find someone who wants the same as you. You can do it. There's enough people with that mindset who want the same as you. You will find someone out there. And it just seems like this day and age, it just seems like less and less people care about that, and more people care about chasing after wealth and social status and showing off their trips, around the world and stuff like that. Like more and more people are concerned about that than at human relationships. And if other people aren't chasing the same thing, well, they're just garbage. They're less of a human being. No, they're not. They just have different priorities. They have different interests. Not everyone's interested in that. Just remember that. So I wanted to talk about this. I thought it was really important. It was on my mind. So thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it.
Emotional development. So I want to make it very clear that what I'm about to say is not my opinion, but it's actually what my findings have been showing for over 3 decades as the root of our problem. And what young people teach us through my mixed method longitudinal research that I've been doing for over 3 decades is that we live in a culture that's out of sync with our nature, and that's creating a crisis of connection, which is essentially loneliness. And what I mean by that is it's a culture that doesn't value the very things that young people say they want and need, and it's primarily, if not exclusively, close relationships, friendships in which they can be emotionally intimate, where there's a deep understanding, they feel seen and heard and listened to, and they're starving for those relationships. And we live in a culture, however, that doesn't value that thinks academic achievement and making a lot of money is more valuable than close, intimate friendships.